Hey everyone, this is Jay Curate, whatever, where we literally talk about whatever. But today it's not about whatever. It's about a very serious issue, and we're going to dive deeper into depression in men, some of the symptoms, how you can pull yourself out of it, because the only person that's going to be able to get you out of your depression is going to be you. It's going to be you. If you're a guy going through it, or ladies, if you know your husband or your boyfriend or whoever's going through it, and maybe you don't know where to start, or they don't know what avenues you can take, I'm just going to be naming a few. I'll have some information linked down in the description about, this is just my journey. I'm not a licensed physician or a therapist. Full disclosure, okay? I'm just here to talk about my journey, talk about an issue that's important to me, and if it helps somebody, even just one person, to start, maybe it helps pave the way for them to start becoming the best version of themselves and get themselves out of a funk or whatever, then I've done something. I've done what I came here to do. I wanted to start off today with the fact that I had gone around thinking that, life is so hard, poor me, and this and that. And in my brain, tell me if you relate to this, fellas, you start to justify how you're feeling, even if you've been feeling this way for a while and you're just nasty. You're just being nasty, but you're pointing the finger everywhere but where it needs to be pointed. You find yourself being angry or irritable all the time, and you're sitting there, and as you and this is afterwards, and you're reflecting, and you're telling yourself, like, man, I don't know why I'm doing that. But then your brain goes back to justifying why you did it, or finding ways to put the blame somewhere else. Guilty as charged. That's depression. That's part of it. And if you can't take the first step and acknowledge that that's what it is, how are you going to fix it? Now, I'm not here to just call us bad and this and that. And as I go through this video, I'm not here to point fingers at anybody else or make society or women or men feel horrible about themselves. These are just the facts. Okay, and I've got the receipts here for it, and I'm going to have links down in the description about it. So depression in men, this is just a quick statistic from my last video. If you haven't seen it, go back and check it out. Men's mental health, episode 1. It's going to be a broad overview of men's mental health. But today, it's just a deeper dive into men's depression, because this is the start. This is where it all starts. Because if it gets to worst case scenario, then you'll have suicide. That's the worst case scenario. Or they hurt somebody else. I'm not saying all men are just all these dangerous animals. Quick statistic from the last video, 3.88 times more likely. A man is more likely to commit suicide than a woman. How have we as men let it get that bad? I'm not saying outside factors can affect something, because I do think the dynamics in society has changed, and that contributes to it. But us men also need to take a deep, good, hard look at ourselves, because we can pull ourselves out of it, for sure. It's not easy. It's going to be pretty hard, but we can definitely do it. And I just wanted to tell any fellow watching this, or a woman that's got, her man or husband or whoever, they can tell something's different, something's weird about them, and it's been that way for a while. You can, there are resources out there. You can do this, okay? You can do this. So, I want to start off with living in the past, because that's where some of this stems from. Is past traumatic experiences or past emotional experiences that we just haven't dealt with. and they fester, and it's like compound interest. It builds and builds and builds until maybe you drink a little too much and it comes out. Maybe not in violence, but maybe you say something really mean. Have you ever had that? I've had that happen. You say something really mean, you don't mean to say it, but you didn't really know you said. Maybe you got too drunk. Maybe you woke up the next day and then your person is looking at you, giving you the cold shoulder, looking at you weird. And you're just like, well, I wonder why they're doing that. So it's a little awkward for a little bit, and then you're like, something wrong? What's up? They're like, well, you were really nasty to me last night. Well, what did I say? And you don't even remember. That's how bad it can get. And then you feel even worse because you didn't mean that. But maybe you did. Maybe you've been building a story or scenario in your head every day, pointing the finger everywhere but where it needs to be pointed for how you're feeling. Because let me tell you something. From personal experience, I've done that. I've justified my actions by painting a picture and projecting my insecurities, my emotional and physical trauma from my past, and I push it everywhere else instead of dealing with it. The first thing that you need to do, and this is going to be a hard step, is to recognize and acknowledge that you're depressed or that there's something wrong, because that's the first step. If you can't acknowledge that, you can't move. You can't even, that's the simplest step. Depression it's an actual condition. It's a mental health condition. And it's defined by the American Psychiatric Association as a mood disorder that causes persistent feelings of sadness and a loss of interest. Maybe you feel numb to everything outside of you. That's how I felt. I couldn't pinpoint why. But I kept making excuses for myself and blaming everybody else. This can lead to emotional and physical problems. You can develop chronic heart conditions, high stress and anxiety. If you don't deal with this, you may not put the right amount of effort and work. You might make excuses for why you're not working, or blame the company or your boss or whoever as to why you're not working hard, or they're not doing this, and this, when in reality you're numb and you don't want to do anything, to be completely honest. That's not a good place to be. All of these things add up to getting out of your head, because that's where us guys, I know this personally, like I said, us men, we sit in our head so much. Part of it is we think or we assume that they're not going to understand. Society doesn't really care about us. Who wants to hear about my problems? I don't want to be a burden to anybody. And that's a mistake. Fellas, our ladies or our husbands or boyfriends or whoever, however you go, they want to know. They want to help. But how can they help if they don't know or you don't tell them? They'll feel it, for sure. They'll feel it. They'll experience it, because you're going to, like I said earlier, you're going to be nasty to them. But they can't fix it for you. You have to take the steps to fix it. Other things that depression can lead to: substance abuse, drinking too much, drugs, trying to put a Band-Aid over the problem. I used to do that. I used to do that a lot. And it never made me feel any better. Never. Because this is a crazy statistic, and this is going to lead into this next subject. If you are constantly doing that and you haven't fixed your issues, then you're living in the past. And here's proof. There was a study done by Dr. Fred Luskin at Stanford University. Think about how many thoughts you have in a single day. Guess. You don't have to because I already did the research for you. The average person has 60,000 thoughts a day. And of those 60,000, what percentage do you think are thoughts of the past? 90%. 90% of those thoughts are thoughts from the past, which means you're constantly living in the past unless you intentionally or actively make an effort to change your mental state. How hard would it be, do you think? This isn't a statistic, but I'm just thinking. How hard do you think it would be to pull yourself out of a depressed mental state if your thoughts, 90% of them are from the past? That is a wild number to me. I didn't think that I thought 60,000 thoughts a day. Never in a million years would I have ever thought of that. Sometimes I think I'm not thinking about anything. I'm a guy. Sometimes that's just what we do, or we think we do, maybe. So many different things can lead to it. You've got divorce. Divorce is extremely high, and that can take its toll on men and women, obviously. And like I said, work pressure, you having relationship issues. But me personally, then those are some of the symptoms. But me personally, how I had started, I'm going to tell you about my journey real quick, and we'll get to towards the end here. But I had started a few times, and the intention was not there to fix my depression. It was there for a little bit. I thought I was doing the right thing, but I would always regress. If you're going to make these changes, it starts up here. So rewiring your mental state it's not easy. It's very uncomfortable. It's facing yourself. It's admitting to things that you wouldn't normally admit to because your subconscious is actively sabotaging you. I tried resetting my brain so many times, but I was not intentional about it. So if you want to make real change, you will make the real change. And here's how I'm doing it. Down below is going to be a link. Don't worry, I'm not getting paid. This isn't paid advertisement or any of that stuff. There are going to be some links. Then one of these it's not a one size fits all. Therapy, I don't think, is a one size fits all for everybody, but I do think that therapy is a good starting point insofar as getting the information out instead of staying in your head, because that's the worst place that you can be. Sometimes we just want somebody to talk to. I know that as a guy, somebody who's not going to maybe automatically just try and fix me or tell me that I'm bad or wrong or anything. I just need somebody to listen. And therapy affords you that. So one of those links is going to be down there for BetterHelp. It doesn't have to be BetterHelp. I mean, you could just look up a local therapist. But BetterHelp, you can do Zoom calls. It's a good starting point. So that's going to be down below. Another thing I'm doing that you can do to be the best you, to pull yourself out of depression, because we like to sit in victimhood a lot of times. And like I said before, you like to justify, right? Oh, and then poor me, this and that. But another way I'm pulling myself out of it is that I've pulled myself out. There are podcasts and YouTube videos and stuff on self-care, because some of this depression and stuff has to do with self-esteem and self-confidence and everything else. And these motivational videos, podcasts, books, they can definitely help you get out of your brain, get out of your mind, and move forward and progress rather than regress. And like I said, it's going to take intention. You have to want to do it. The biggest thing that's helped is a book by a man called Dr. Joe Dispenza, for me, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. So he goes into This is a short summary. He goes into the brain and how the brain works. He breaks it down, and then he also tells you his steps for getting out of that mental state and actually rewiring your brain to think differently. When you think differently, you're going to act differently, and you're going to feel differently. And I'm in the meditation state right now, so I'm going through the different steps to the meditation to pull myself out and be even better. And it's exciting. It really is exciting. Once you get to that point, once you accept it, and you have just gone full throttle on changing, so many different avenues open up. And your loved ones can feel it, can feel the energy. That in turn is going to improve your relationships. It's exciting to me to think about all the possibilities just by changing my mindset. And then actively, intentionally changing the outcome. Because negative thoughts are going to lead to negative outcomes. Positive thoughts are going to lead to positive outcomes. It's up to you to make that decision. But I'm here to tell you that you don't have to start alone. I believe in you. I hope you enjoyed this video. I was going through it. So I think it would behoove me to share the information with people. Anybody going through it or that needs help starting to fix themselves, if they know that they're the problem. Us men, I'm talking to men, because it's important to me. I think society is here shortly is probably going to need us, and they need us to be strong. They don't need us to be weak. Strong men will bring times of peace, right? Will bring good times. But weak men, the outcome is less than desirable. I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I enjoyed making it. I have some of these notes in front of me, and that's what I've been using, planning stuff out and going through and sharing some of my steps that I've been taking. All the links are going to be down in the description. I'll have some follow-up videos here going more in depth in different issues at men's mental health and maybe just to check in. But if you enjoyed this video or maybe it was helpful, just let me know. Subscribe, comment, like. However, if you're joining from Facebook or Instagram, I appreciate it. Or if you're listening on the podcast, always, always, always a pleasure to get this information out. So I hope I see y'all next time. I hope this helps. And until then, I hope y'all have a great week.